distinguished guests, delegates, participants, and invitees. A very good morning to one and all. Indeed, it's my honor this morning to welcome you all to today's international conference on tribal livelihood patterns, issues and challenges, issues and strategies for empowerment, organized by Department of Political Science, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. And today is the second day of the conference. Yesterday, we have witnessed enriching discussions and deliberations. And today, we are looking forward for the another enriching and exciting sessions. And we are beginning with today panel discussion chaired by Dr. V.N.V.K. Shastri, former director, TCR and TI Hyderabad, on the theme Role of State and Civil Society, Tribal Development in India. It's my honor to invite Professor Shastri sir on the dais. Dr. V.N.V.K. Shastri sir is the Director, Tribal Cultural Research and Training Institute, Tribal Welfare Department from Government of Andhra Pradesh and has served 34 years of service in various capacities. He is very committed to the cause of tribal upliftment. It's an honor today that you are here, sir. Thank you. Now I take the opportunity to invite Bela Bhatia, advocate from Jagdalpur, Chhattisgarh. I welcome you to the dais, ma'am. Bela Bhatia is an independent writer and researcher, human rights lawyer and activist, working in the district courts of Basar Division, Chhattisgarh, India. And her doctoral thesis was on the Naxalite movement in the Central Bihar, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences from the University of Cambridge. Prior to the academics, ma'am was full-time rights activist for nearly a decade, and she has worked extensively for the cause of the deprived people. We welcome you, madam, to the panel discussion. Now I invite N. Venugopal sir, editor, Veekshanam. Sir would be speaking on trends of corporatization and tribal challenges. Sir is a journalist in Telugu Literary Journal. Sir has begun his career at a very young age of 17, and Sir has been a journalist, poet, literary critic, socio-economic researcher, teacher, columnist, and public speaker for the last few decades, and currently the editor of Veekshanam. So we welcome you to the panel discussion. Now I invite P. Trinath Rao Garu, advocate from Rajam Mahendravaram. Sir would be speaking on tribal land issues and forest rights. And sir has directly witnessed the exploitation of the tribals by the non-tribals and has been working for the cause of the tribals. And sir has many books, articles, and published many papers on the issues of the tribals. And sir has also done his PhD on tribals from our university. We are honored today, sir. We welcome you to the panel discussion. So with this, I request our chair, Dr. V.N.V.K. Shastri, sir, to kindly conduct the proceedings. Thank you, Wanda.
Good morning. Good morning to all the participants. Special regards to the panelists and thanks to the organizers for organizing this seminar. Today is Adivasi Day, and it is a very auspicious day for tribals all over the world. Auspicious, I say, because it was declared as a indigenous populations day, but same time, all over the populations, tribal populations have been suffering from different kinds of problems. The second thing is the as far as tribal development strategy is concerned. The tribal sub-plan strategy was started in 1974-75. Now it is 50 years. After these 50 years, what happened, what has not happened is an important issue that we have to deliberate while evolving or suggesting new strategies for development. I will briefly mention, without taking much time of the panelists, on the request of Professor Ravi, I was asked to say a few words on this important issue. Number one is that there is a Constitution of India. There is a fifth schedule and sixth schedule, which has been specially included in the Constitution by the constitutional makers to protect and promote the tribal interests. One of the important lines in the fifth schedule is to provide peace and good governance. Now we have to deliberate whether there is a peace or not, whether there is a good governance or not. And to provide this, what should be done? Now, all these 50 years should not say that nothing has happened. Something has happened, but not to the desired extent. And there are many undesirable things have also happened. I will quote on a few sectors. Number one is education. It was mere 7% literacy when this youth fair plan started. Now it is 46%, especially in our state of Telangana. But still, the state of Telangana stands in the last rank in the All India with states having tribal populations. And compared to the general population, it is the gap is very high. Literacy alone is not a criteria, but it is one of the important criteria for human development. Then when it comes to health, absolutely there is no improvement. The health conditions are deteriorating. Nutrition status is still very weak. And we see in the TVs, especially in this rainy season, people are not able to cross the hill streams. Pregnant women are being carried on carts. Some people died on the way. I have seen in my own eyes in Nalmalai forest, where roads are not allowed as per the Wildlife Sanctuary Act, where permanent roads are not allowed, only temporary tracks are allowed. And in the bumpy road, I have personally seen one woman being taken on a bullock cart. By the time she reached on the road point, she already died. And even while we were discussing certain things in the village of Papur, a dead body came back. That is the situation even today in those areas. Recently, last year, on my birthday, I made it a point to go to Apapur again and discuss with the people there of what is happening. There is a mobile medical unit. There is a ambulance stationed outside the Appapur gate on the main road. And to call the ambulance, one has to travel 14 kilometers and then call the ambulance back. If it is not stuck in the muddy road, then people are safe. And that is the condition. Cell phones do not work because the towers were totally dismantled during the Naxal agitation time, saying that these towers are being used by them. But unfortunately, even today, they are not restored and there is no communication. Even if somebody dies, it will take 1 or 2 days to reach the message to the outside world. That is the situation even today. Then coming to the other issues, I will quickly inform you. Drinking water. Drinking water is still a problem, even after so many years of independence, so many years of Constitution of India coming into existence. And then people have to drink muddy water from small ponds, and then the gastroenteritis and deaths due to gastroenteritis are very common in this season. Then, of course, the malaria is a perpetual problem, and health institutions very rarely function there. The institutions and buildings are there, but doctors and other populations are other paramedical are very rarely available. And even if they are available, there is a shortage of medicine, especially. Then there is the perpetual problem of land alienation. Land alienation now it has taken a new dimension of pyramid transactions. So all the roadside villages, if you go to Warangal district, starting from Muluk to Etunagaram, and from Etunagaram to Magapet to again Elan Godavari, up to Bhadrachalam area, all the lands have been taken away by the non-tribals. It is only the namesake tribal leadership, but the leadership is in the hands of non-tribals. They have to decide what is to be done, what is not to be done. Then there are another very serious problem of encroachments in tribal areas. There is, unfortunately, as I was telling in the fifth schedule of the Constitution is meant for protecting the tribal interests, especially on land, livelihood. Every aspect of tribals have to be taken care by the state. Unfortunately, in these encroachments, state is either active or passive participant. Take, for example, irrigation dams. We all of us know that 275 villages now, of course, transferred from Telangana to Andhra, whether it is transferred or not, they are tribals and they are going to suffer. And without rehabilitation, as we all know, rehabilitation is only lip sympathy. Then mining, then industry, wildlife projects, and the latest is tourism, ecotourism, many names. Unfortunately, when the tourism project was started in Araku, I was director of Tribal Research Institute. And in the meeting, I protested saying that should not open tourism in tribal areas, especially sensitive tribal areas. What has happened in other countries just take it because innocent people will be exploited by all the tourists are not good people. They did not listen. When I insisted, I was asked to sit outside the meeting hall. Okay, I went out because I am a government servant. If at all, or I may be suspended also. But still, I protested. Today, unfortunately, the National AIDS Control Society has officially reported 5 cases of AIDS among the tribal dancers of those areas. This is the reported cases. How many else? Because they are active cases. There may be many other cases like this. So this is the vulnerability of the tribals is being exploited. Their simplicity is being exploited. Their lack of power is being exploited. And finally, I'll talk about the leadership. Starting from panchayat leadership to parliament leadership, all the leaders are tribals in the tribal designated constituencies, but for all practical purposes, they are non-tribals. Because in the elections, it's non-tribals, they finance, and especially in Telangana districts, in the tribal areas, nearly 50% of the population is non-tribals. So the voters are also there. So in this context, we talk of empowerment of the tribals. What kind of empowerment is required? What kind of strategies are required? We have to deliberate. And I have a serious doubt. Vedagopal sir also will support me. Really, if the tribals are empowered and if they raise their voice, is the state willing to accept? Will the state tolerate that? We ask the people to rise. And if they rise, then we will resort to all kinds of dash. Okay, with this I will stop. I request the panelists. We started a little late. To start with, Madam Bella Bhatia, Advocate, Jagdalpur Chhattisgarh. The topic is tribal rights movements and changing role of state.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीबॉडी। आज एक बहुत खुशी का दिन है। आज अंतर्राष्ट्रीय आदिवासी दिन है। इसके लिए आप सबको हम सबको मुबारक हो। और हम चाहेंगे कि जिस कारण से देश भर में विश्व भर में ये दिवस बनाया गया और वो आदिवासियों के इंडिजिनस पीपल्स के राइट्स ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड, उनका अधिकार, उनके रिसोर्सेस पर उनका अधिकार, उनका डेवलपमेंट, उनका सॉवरेनिटी, उनका खुद का, ये पूरे विश्व में ये माना गया कि ये एक यूनिक सिविलाइजेशंस हैं जिसको हम सब all in globally we have to try to see that they are protected and उनका डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हो, क्योंकि ये यूनिक सिविलाइजेशंस हैं, वेरी ओल्ड सिविलाइजेशंस। बट द वर्ल्ड ओवर जो हमने देखा है आदिवासियों के साथ में जो हुआ, अमेरिका में क्या हुआ, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में क्या हुआ, ये हर एक जगह हमने देखा किस तरह से आदिवासियों को शोषण हुआ, उनकी जमीन उनसे ली गई, उनके साथ में धोखा हुआ और उनको हाशिए पर कर दिया गया। तो यही टाइप के चैलेंजेस हमारे देश में भी आए। तो जो 1947 के पहले जो कॉलोनियल टाइम में उस समय जो लड़ाई आदिवासी लोग लड़ रहे थे, उस समय भी जल जंगल जमीन का उनका लड़ाई था. They were fighting for their resources. They were fighting for their right to their land, to their forests, and the threats against that. So it is a very sad commentary of our times that they are still fighting that battle. So even in democratic India, there are new threats that have come. And these threats have come in the form of multinational corporations who are now increasingly making inroads in tribal areas. Actually, after 1990, after the whole phase of new liberal politics, when economic policies, when it came into being. So initially, it was not apparent. Initially, it was, MOUs that were signed. None of us knew what has happened. But slowly, over the last decade, we have, it has become a reality where ये सब जो बड़े बड़े कंपनीज हैं, ये लोग अभी आदिवासी इलाकों के अंदर ये लोग का बहुत मतलब अंदर ये लोग चले गए हैं. और ये लोग पूरे राज्य के साथ, राज्य के कॉर्पोरेशन के साथ ये लोग अंदर पहुंच गए हैं और फिर से आदिवासी जमीनों पर कब्जा की स्थिति आ गई है. तो जो हमारे देश के पूरे मेन स्ट्रीम इंडिया में जो आदिवासी ट्रैक्स हैं, उन सब का यही स्थिति है. हर एक जगह, वेदर इट बी झारखंड, वेदर इट बी ओडिशा, वेदर इट बी सेंट्रल इंडिया, एवरीवेयर the questions that the Adivasis are facing are the same. Everywhere people have used, since the topic that I would like to focus on is about their movements. So everywhere we see that in all these states that people have used various methods. By people I mean here the Adivasis have used various methods to retain the control over their lands, over their forests, over their resources. And yet, whether it be in Jharkhand, whether it be in Odisha, even on non-violent movements, they have rained bullets on them and they have killed people. Koil Karo is a very good example where people were leading a completely non-violent struggle against the dams on the Koil and the Karo River. There in 2012, Adivasis were killed. And same thing in Odisha. I mean, you have umpteen examples in Odisha. Kashinagar, Kalinganagar, like that. Kashipur, Kalinganagar. Many examples we have where on non-violent movements also the government has and the police has opened fire. So today in Bastar, as we know, there is a insurgent movement in Bastar, which is the main form of politics there, people's politics, which is led by the Maoist movement. And the movement has been there since 1980. And the counter-insurgency against the Maoists came into sharp focus and in a very different way in the form of Salvajudum in 2005, and then subsequent operations after Salvajudum, whether it be Operation Green Hunt, and many different names have been used. The latest is Operation Kagar. Now, the thing is that to my mind, these names are not important, whether it is whatever operation. The point is on the ground, the situation is the same. What the government is doing, whether it was in Operation Green Hunt, whether it was in Salvajudum time, but what is now, it is the same. So what is happening there is that Bastar is now dotted with paramilitary camps. Bastar is perhaps the most militarized zone in the country today. As of now, I think there are some 200 paramilitary camps, which they call security camps. But these camps are, a source of constant surveillance on the people of those regions. Geographically, if you map it, on the map, you see that they are even 2 kilometer, 5 kilometer, में you find these camps. तो कैंप्स जो है फिजिकली भी वो एक बहुत बड़ा स्ट्रक्चर होता है. दे टेक ओवर लैंड ऑफ द पीपल. कहीं भी लोगों को बताया नहीं जाता है कि हम आपका जमीन लेना चाहते हैं. उनसे कंसल्ट नहीं करते हैं. डिस्पाइट वी ऑल नो देयर इज पेसा एक्ट, देयर इज फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट. None of this on the ground is being followed. So overnight, these paramilitary camps come. एंड लिटरली जब मैं ओवरनाइट बोल रही हूँ तो रातों रात उनका कैंप आ जाता है. कई बार सुबह में लोगों को पता चलता है कि यहाँ पे कैंप बैठ गया. अभी क्या है कि जमीन का रिकॉर्ड यहाँ पे अपडेटेड नहीं है. बस्तर में जमीन का रिकॉर्ड अपडेटेड नहीं है. इसमें लोगों का गलती नहीं है, ये तो स्टेट का गलती है. फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट 2006 में आ गया, उसके बाद भी आप लोगों को रेगुलराइज नहीं किए, उनका पट्टा नहीं दिए, कुछ नहीं दिए. नाउ टू यूज दैट एज एन एक्सक्यूज कि आपका जमीन का तो पट्टा नहीं है. और इसीलिए अगर आपका जमीन अचानक कैंप बनाने के लिए ले लेते हैं तो आपको बोलने का हमको क्या जरूरत है, क्योंकि ये जमीन का तो आपका पट्टा ही नहीं है. देयर इज नो रिकॉर्ड. जबकि गांव में लोग बोलेंगे कि हम बरसों बरस हमारे लोग इसको खेती किए. And none of this, like in terms of, firstly, nobody is able to fight that. Initially, when these camps came into being, they were saying that these are temporary camps. सर्वाजुडुम के टाइम से they were saying अभी थोड़ा समय के लिए कैंप है, मगर वो तो हम जान रहे हैं वो टेम्पररी से अभी परमानेंट कैंप्स बन गए हैं. एंड दे आर continuously expanding. They are taking over more land. And actually, when you travel in these regions, you are shocked when you see the extent to which in district after district you see how the cordoned wires, paramilitary people will be stopping you on the way. You'll be constantly checked. You will need to have your identity cards. Your vehicle number will be written down. They will ask your purpose. Where are you going? कहाँ जा रहे हैं, कब आ रहे हैं. मतलब पूरा सर्वेलेंस वहाँ का मैकेनिज्म वहाँ पूरी तरह से एकदम फैला हुआ है. और ये तो हम लोग अपना बात कर रहे हैं, मगर लोगों का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अगर आप सोचें तो आप सोचिए कितना मुश्किल है उनके लिए. बिकॉज हम लोग का कुछ भी है, हम लोग का कहीं ना कहीं एक प्रिविलेज्ड सिचुएशन रहता है. हालांकि हम में से जो भी हैं प्रोफेशनल्स in any capacity, whether it be as lawyers or as journalists, everywhere, we have to also struggle because we are also stopped. And many times to reach these areas, we have to take, just to cover 5 kilometers, we may have to take 1-2 days of long route and then reach the spot. So that kind of constantly troubling, constantly harassing, ये तो पूरा समय चलता रहता है. मगर लोगों के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आप सोचिए कि कोई भी जो युवा वर्ग है, कोई भी वहां मोटरसाइकिल पे चला के जा रहा है, उसको किसी को भी रोकेंगे, उसका मोबाइल लेंगे, मोबाइल अपने पास रख लेंगे. नो नीड टू गिव एनी दैट हैशटैग और एनीथिंग. They can put in anything into the mobile if they want to. And as a lawyer, I've dealt with cases where people have been charged because in their mobile they found a pata matlab ek song, some Naxalite song or something they found on the mobile. Now Naxalite songs are also available on YouTube. People can download, they can listen, just because they like the song. So इस तरह से मतलब लोगों को पूरा समय आप उनका मोबाइल रख लेंगे और नो अकाउंटेबिलिटी, देन कांस्टेंट थ्रेड्स. इस तरह का पूरा वहाँ पे एक रूल ऑफ, जिसको हम पुलिस बोल सकते हैं, वैसा वहाँ पे रूल ऑफ पुलिस है. And one thing which I would like to mention, especially because it is of relevance from the point of view of movements, is that there is no difference there between the police and the paramilitary, because all operations are combined operations. Police and paramilitary are working together. So when the same police, the civil police, is also involved with the paramilitary, which is CRPF and others in their security operations, whenever things happen, like a fake encounter, civilians getting killed, people being incarcerated, and so on, where do the people go? जो वहां का आम जनता है वो किधर जाएगा? क्योंकि जो थाना है आज के दिन में, थाना और सीआरपीएफ तो मिलके पूरा काम कर रहा है। थाना का जो लोकेशन है फिजिकली, वो भी कई बार सीआरपीएफ कैंप के अंदर है। वो सीआरपीएफ कैंप के अंदर क्यों है? तो वो बोलते हैं वो इसलिए हम अंदर बनाए हैं क्योंकि थाना को भी सुरक्षा चाहिए, माओइस्ट से हमको भी हमारा प्रोटेक्शन चाहिए, इसीलिए कैंप को सीआरपीएफ के अंदर डाले हैं। मगर कैंप पुलिस कैंप्स, एज यू नो, 24 आवर्स दे आर सपोज टू बी अवेलेबल टू द सिटीजन, बट उधर ऐसा नहीं है। दे आर इनसाइड द कैंप्स ऑफन, सो इवन टू जस्ट रीच द पुलिस स्टेशन, you have to pass through the paramilitary and so on. So वहां पे हालत ये है आज के दिन में कि एक पुलिस राज का सिचुएशन है, और अगर आपको कंप्लेन करना है तो आपको पता नहीं चल रहा है आप किसके पास जाएंगे कंप्लेन करने के लिए। और जो फोर्सेस का अगर मैं बात करूं तो जो सलवा जुडुम के टाइम में हम लोग सब सलवा जुडुम को एक विजिलेंटे मूवमेंट की तरह समझते हैं, मगर मैंने उस समय से पूरा देखा है कि सलवा जुडुम itself as a vigilante also, they were just a group of some 30, 40, 50 people who were leaders or whatever in different districts. But to my mind, Salva Judum was an operation because they were being used as the eyes and the ears of the local, for the local community, to show them the geography, कहाँ कहाँ उनको ले जाना है। मगर उस समय भी मेन जो काम था वो सीआरपीएफ ने किया था, वो आईआरबी ने किया था। हाँ, जो 300 का संख्या में वो लोग गांव गांव जाते थे और वो लोग घर जलाते थे, लोगों को बोलते थे कि आइदर यू आर विद अस और यू आर विद देम। लोगों को सलवा जुडुम कैंप्स में पुश करते थे। जो डिस्प्लेसमेंट हुआ उस समय तेलंगाना, वो सब लोग क्रॉस किए। द लार्जेस्ट इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट ऑफ इन द कंट्री था उस समय, like roughly 1 lakh people had been displaced. Even today they are at least 60% of them are still displaced with no citizenship rights, because in our country there's no policy for conflict induced displaced people. So practically, they don't have any ration cards, they don't have Aadhaar cards, they have, ये टाइप का स्थिति है। तो वहां पे आज के दिन में ये दिख रहा है कि ये जो पूरा समय कैंप्स आ रहे हैं एंड ओवरनाइट आ रहे हैं, तो इसके खिलाफ वहां पे सलवा जुडुम के टाइम में एक बहुत डर का माहौल था। पीपल वर डायरेक्टली बीइंग किल्ड एंड सो ऑन। सो उस समय कोई पुलिस थाना में रिपोर्ट लिखाने भी नहीं जाता था, डरते थे लोग। मगर बिटवीन 2005 and 2024 a lot of time has passed. There has been lot of direct repression, lot of people have been killed, thousands have gone through the jail. So now even लोग भी अभी बाहर निकल रहे हैं। 2015 के बाद से लोग बाहर निकल रहे हैं, ये एक बहुत बड़ा बात अब बस्तर में हमको दिखता है। एंड आज के दिन में नाउ इट्स 2024 and already from 2021 very powerful local movements have emerged. These movements are led by the youth of the region, all are Adivasi youth, and these are people who were, youngsters who were children during the time of Salva Judum. Many of them have seen their own family members being killed, their own houses being burnt. They had to live in, some of them had to live in the forest for many months. So these are people who have directly, youngsters, वो लोग उस समय 3 साल 4 साल का बच्चा था 2005 में, 2024 में वो अभी बड़ा जवान बन गया। और अभी ये जवान लोगों में अभी हिम्मत है। अभी कई राज्यों में जब मैं जाती हूँ, जैसे अभी मैं रिसेंटली बंगाल में गई थी और कलकत्ता वेस्ट बंगाल में, तो वहाँ ऐसा बात कर रहे थे कि जवान लोग निकलते नहीं, हाउ टू मोटिवेट young people to come out. In Bastar, the situation is different. In Bastar, the situation is that youth are coming out in large numbers. And not only youth, people are coming out. women are coming out with their children, इतना लकड़ी लेके, अपना घर का टमाटर लेके, थोड़ा चावल लेके, क्योंकि कोई भी धरना साइट में इट कंटिन्यूज फॉर मंथ्स, मेनी ऑफ दिस धरना साइट्स। सो लोग वहां से निकल रहे हैं बहुत भारी संख्या में। वहां पे एक डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ सिचुएशन है कि वहां पे जो एक ज्यादा एनालिसिस का मुद्दा है, जो रिफ्लेक्शन का मुद्दा है, वो है लीड करने के लिए आपको लीडर्स चाहिए। क्योंकि ओपन एंड डेमोक्रेटिक मूवमेंट्स को लीड करने के लिए आपको वहां पे लीडर्स की बहुत ज्यादा आवश्यकता है, ऐसा मुझे लगता है। क्योंकि ये यंग लोग लड़ाई तो करने को पूरा तैयार है, मगर आफ्टर आफ्टर अ पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट they would the movements would benefit if they have senior leaders who, जो पूरा मूवमेंट से तपा हुआ आदमी, यू नो जो जानता है ये सरकार कैसी है, ये स्टेट कैसा है, ये ओपन डेमोक्रेटिक मूवमेंट को आगे कैसे ले जाना है, ऐसा लीडरशिप देने वाला हम लोग को अभी बस्तर में ऐसे लोग चाहिए आज के दिन में। तो ये तो जैसे मैंने कहा, ये रिफ्लेक्शन का मुद्दा है, ये एक अलग मुद्दा है। मगर ये जो ओपन मूवमेंट्स है, इसको मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि ये मूवमेंट 2021 के बाद से ये बहुत पावरफुल आया। 2021 में एक सिलगर करके एक आंदोलन, वहां पर सिलगर गांव, ये बीजापुर का एक गांव है। तो सिलगर में क्या हुआ, ओवरनाइट कैंप आ गया, लोगों को पता ही नहीं। दूसरे दिन मार्केट डे था, तो कुछ लोग दूसरे दूसरे गांव से आए, तो सिलगर वालों को बोले तुमको पता नहीं, तुम्हारे उधर तो कैंप आ गया। तो लोगों को पता चला, अरे, फिर वो लोग वहां जाके देखे तो कैंप का पूरा आ गया। दूसरे दिन 40 बड़े बड़े जो थोड़ा उम्र वाले थे, वो लोग वहां गए और कि कैसे आप लोग सीधे कैंप लेके आए, हमको तो आप बताए भी नहीं। तो उनको खूब, एंड आदिवासीज, when they, if you meet Adivasis, you all have met Adivasis, that way they are very gentle people, when they talk also, एकदम simply very ऐसे ऐसे करके वो लोग पूछते हैं, बात करते हैं। उनसे पूरा डायलॉग करने का स्टेट का है नहीं, उनको दबाने का ही है, डायलॉग का कुछ उनका रहता नहीं है। उन्होंने ये जो सियान बोलते हैं, मतलब एल्डर्स, एल्डर्स को भगा दिया वहां से। उसके बाद से नेक्स्ट डे से एक मूवमेंट शुरू हो गया वहां पर, स्पॉन्टेनियस मूवमेंट कह सकते हैं इसको, क्योंकि गांव गांव से लोग आने लगे। In another 3-4 days, there were thousands of people there. And they were all, so one side there was the camp, the new camp. They had put a cordoned wire. Then there was another cordoned wire. And इस side में पूरा जनता। तो ये जनता यही पूछने के लिए कि ये कैंप आप इज इलीगल, ये कैंप को वापस जाना है। तो उन पर गोलियां चला दी। तो गोलियां चलाने से there were 3 people who were killed on the spot, and there was a mother and a woman who was pregnant who got injured. She also died in a few days. So that way there was a toll of 5. After that Silgir, this incident in Silgir gave birth to the Silgir same nikla hua movements all over the Bastar. So literally there has been a sea of movements, dharnas in many different parts against the camps. That is one. And they are saying that we want consultation under PESA. We want to know your plan. हमसे कंसल्ट करके ही आप हमारा जमीन ले सकते हैं, एक बात। दूसरी बात कि ये जो बड़ा बड़ा आप रोड्स बना रहे हैं बस्तर में, वेरी वाइड रोड्स आर बीइंग बिल्ट एवरीवेयर इन द इंटीरियर रीजन। तो जहाँ पे 75 years में आप छोटा छोटा रोड भी नहीं बना के दिए लोगों को, अभी सडनली इन बस्तर you are seeing for the last few years that there are wide roads, कहीं कहीं 6 lane टाइप का बड़ा बड़ा दिखता है। सो नेचुरली लोगों को शंका है कि आप ये इतना बड़ा बड़ा रोड्स क्यों बना रहे हैं। अगर लोग उठाते हैं ये प्रश्न कि हमको रोड क्यों ऐसा बड़ा रोड नहीं चाहिए, then they say you are anti development, but people are not anti development. People are saying हमको छोटा रोड चाहिए। We don't even have, some of us have motorcycles, we don't have any 4-wheel vehicle also. We just want small roads, but we don't want these huge roads. And if you're making these huge roads, then this is not for our purpose, our security, our use, our development. It is being done in our name, but this is being done for the mining purposes. Increasingly, actually, we are finding this to be true. Like in Madronar is a one movement spot in Narayanpur. इन मड्डोनार में जब हम वहाँ गए तो वहाँ पे all these youth were telling us they named all the paramilitary camps that are coming up. We drew a map, and actually what we found was that it was surrounding the Nico mines. Huh? So then the question is very clear. I mean, you can see it actually on the maps if you plot it, that this paramilitary camps then are to protect the mining. To protect from whom? From the Maoists. So you want your mining to go uninterrupted. You want your road for the mining purposes. So roads are being built also for the mines, and on corporate incursions. Venu will also be speaking. I won't speak therefore more on it. But all I will say is that increasingly, this large number of movements that have come up, it has been a very impressive phase. Because I have observed Bastar closely since 2006. I have been living there continuously since 2014. And from a time when people were not going to the police thana at all, from that time now to now, where they are encircling police stations, they are coming out in rallies, they are having dharnas for 3, 4 years, and there's so much suppression उन पर, बहुत suppression हो रहा है. अभी आज सुबह मेरे मोबाइल में मैसेज आया, बीजापुर में एक जगह है नंबी में भी एक धरना चल रहा है. तो नंबी वाले लोग बीजापुर टाउन गए थे, अपना बैनर्स बनाए थे, प्रिंटिंग के लिए दिए थे. तो उनको वहां पे पुलिस ने पकड़ लिया और उन्होंने फिर वो लोग लड़े तो 2 बैनर्स वापस दिया. मतलब उनको एक बैनर वापस दिया, बाकी बैनर्स पुलिस ले गई. So, what is this? I mean, people are just protesting, organizing, protesting non-violently in these dharnas. So why are they not being allowed to do that? Dharnas in these parts have been demolished. Dharna ka jo stage hota hai, stage demolished. Stages have been burnt. There have been people who have been imprisoned. I mean, now there are so many dharna sites I can name, jahan se the main activists are in prison आज के दिन में. और उनको खूब मारपीट, मतलब खूब मारा गया है उनको, और उनको जेल में डाल दिया गया है. तो जिसका मतलब यही कि आप मतलब धरना भी नहीं दे सकते आप. और ये धरना में हर एक में रैली करने के लिए भी आपको पहले परमिशन मांगना है. हाँ, आपको पहले लिख कर देना है, फिर उसमें भी आपको भगाएंगे. आप एसपी के पास जाएंगे, वो आपको इधर भेजेगा, एसडीओपी के वहां भेजेगा, वो लाइक दैट, So in just to get one, permission, which to my mind is very odd, that why in democracy do we need permission to just do a protest? But, this is also, as you see, a method of controlling your population, keeping them under your thumb, and not allowing any kind of a dissent. So, Bastar mein, whatever is happening is not a everyday, all the issues that were mentioned earlier. Education, health, malaria, malnutrition, all of that applies to Bastar. But also what applies very specially to Bastar is the fact that even the life of people is not safe there. आज के दिन में वो कहीं भी जाएंगे, वो जंगल जाएंगे, वो बाजार जाएंगे, वो कहीं भी जाएंगे, they are caught. There are something like more than 6,000 people have been imprisoned in Bastar now since in a very short period number of years. And at a national level, at a state level, we hear of some UAPA cases at a national level. But in Bastar, for example, there are countless UAPA cases. And एक case में there may be 10 people in it, who are under UAPA. And UAPA मतलब कोई आपको बेल नहीं मिलेगा. So मतलब इस तरह का बस्तर में पूरा तरह से एक वहां पे चल रहा है. Surveillance, direct repression, which has increased manifold since the BJP has come to power. Since 1st of January, we are witnessing a new phase of counterinsurgency in Bastar, where there have been many custodial deaths, like many extrajudicial killings, fake encounters. Altogether, till June, some 139 people had been killed. Some of them in genuine Maoist encounters, but many where civilians have been also killed. I'll just give you that 1 or 2 minutes only, just to give you a flavor. Like in one village on the 1st of January itself, a mother is standing in her angan, in her house. वो अपना 6 महीना का बच्ची को लेके खड़ी है. अपना वहां पे ही 4 और महिला है. उनसे she is talking to them because a road is being built in this village is Mudvendi in Bijapur. And the forces had told them that आप लोग वहां आइए and show us which of your trees you want to save. So that is why she was there with her child. When a bullet comes from one side and it hits the child. I mean, if the child was not there, she would have been dead. So it hit a 6-month-old baby and वो बच्चा मर गया. तो माँ जो थी वो उसका नाम मासे. The Mase was, her 3 fingers were also. And then the people in the village say that बहुत force आया था उस दिन क्योंकि रोड बन रहा था. And वो 1st of January था, so they were all drunk. And उनमें से ही कोई, क्योंकि उस दिन कोई एनकाउंटर नहीं हुआ गांव में, माओइस्ट प्रेजेंस नहीं था. But in spite of that, this bullet firing has happened, and firing has happened in which this child lost their life. But what is the government saying? The government and the police is maintaining that there was an encounter that day and she was killed in that encounter. Then there was a very powerful movement after that against the Mudvendi thing. In the next 7 days, another man was killed in another nearby village. He was repairing his house. उसको वो पहले संगम में था कभी बहुत साल पहले, उसको भी दौड़ा दौड़ा के मारा. Now they have no right, किसी को भी दौड़ा दौड़ा के किलिंग करने का राइट पुलिस का नहीं है. They can arrest them, they cannot kill them like that. So इसको पुसनार गांव, which is just a few kilometers from मुदबिंदी, वहां उसका हो गया. फिर ये जो पावरफुल मूवमेंट हुआ, उसके लिए बेलम निंद्रा गांव से लोग 8 लोग, 8 people, including 5 who were youngsters, all in the teenage. They were going to another village where the dharna site was. Suddenly they climbed their hill because the hill was the shortcut in that place. सामने से force आता है, so immediately they open fire, and the first 3 persons are killed. So जिसमें से the one was the male who was going with them, 40-year-old. Next 2 are teenage girls. Who are the witnesses? Rest of them are all witnesses. They have seen them open fire. बाकी लोग का हाथ पीछे बांधकर उनको अपना कस्टडी में वो लोग लेकर गए. उनमें से कुछ लोग को जेल लेकर गए, कुछ लोग को छोड़े. So it's literally like उनका ही राज चल रहा है अभी पूरा. And ऐसा I can give you many. I mean, there's one, killing after another, to the extent that after one killing, like, पूरा करने के बाद, लड़ाई करने के बाद, you come back and then you think you'll write on it. You are just beginning, you're written just a little bit and another one comes like that, another instance. So to my mind, I was thinking in fact, my article first sentence, my half article meaning, it's not, I've called it The Killing Fields of Bastar. I want to finish that. It is on this first, what we are seeing firsthand since 1st January. My first line is that it is raining encounters in Bastar these days, fake encounters in Bastar these days. And अभी the latest जो हुआ, जिसमें एक गांव में 2 villages actually, they were just collecting तेंदू पत्ता, तेंदू पत्ता जिससे बीड़ी बनता है, बीड़ी. So उसका पत्ता इकट्ठा करने के लिए लोग गांव में थे. Forces come, they come to both sides, that village, Itawar and Pidia, और उनको पूरा घेर के उनको भगा भगा के मारे. So 10 people get killed, many people get injured. In the village itself, I found one person who had 3 bullet injuries and who is not able to, the family members are not able to take him to the doctor or outside because डर है हम उसको लेकर जाएंगे तो उसको भी पकड़ लेगा पुलिस, नहीं लेके जाएंगे तो गैंगरीन हो जाएगा. So this is the kind of situation that the people are in. And after that, आजकल एक नया चीज ये भी कर रहे हैं कि एक साथ 30 लोग को वो लोग ले जा रहे हैं. आपने कभी सुना एक साथ 30 लोग को गांव से पकड़ के लेकर चले गया? अभी पूरा समय फोन्स कीप कमिंग, यहाँ से 20 लोग को ले गया दीदी, सुकमा में से फोन आ रहा है, वहां से इतना लोग को ले गया. हमको पता ही नहीं उधर वो लोग किधर है, उनका पता करो. हम लोग पता करते रह जाते हैं कि वो किधर है, पुलिस थाना भी से हमको नहीं मालूम. हाँ, क्योंकि उनको कौन ले गया? डीआरजी ले गया. डीआरजी कौन है? डिस्ट्रिक्ट रिजर्व गार्ड्स, जिसमें 50% आर ऑफ सरेंडर्ड Maoists and the others are who have come through advertisements, who are now being used as the SPOs were being used in the first phase in Salvador. And most of these direct killings, maybe they are using the DRG. So they are also using the DRG as a kind of a shield, as the kind of the first rung of the war. And so what is this? DRG kaun hai? Adivasi. They are all Adivasis. In fact, now in the force, there's a lot of Adivasis. There's CRPF ka Bastar battalion is there. Special force. Bastar fighters are there. So there's now, since after 2005, there are a lot of Adivasi forces now. I mean, people in the force. So I'll just conclude after this, why I felt this so threatening after Itawar and India. This is internal village. First 1 day, 2 days went in just getting those 30 people released. वो लोग किधर है? तो पुलिस लाइन में, बीजापुर में अभी 2 police lines are there. Police line मतलब big places which are under the control of the police. They keep them in big halls and then they release them after they do some questioning and so on, then they release them or arrest them. So the police Thana has no information. They are all in the control of the DRG, and in the DRG there's nobody who is answerable to people like us. कोई नहीं है. हम तो जाएंगे तो थाना में ही जाएंगे. तो एक दिन ऐसे गया. उसके बाद फिर हम लोग गांव गए, गांव में जाके पूरा जांच किए, सब कुछ किए. उसके बाद में फिर हम लोग एक एक घर से एक एक व्यक्ति आया पुलिस में रिपोर्ट लिखाने के लिए. This is interior village, 25 kilometers you have to walk. रास्ते में एक गांव में रात को रहे, दूसरे दिन थाना पहुंचे. थाना में हम लोग 3-4 घंटा बैठे रहे. One MLA had come, so the Thana was empty. All the अधिकारी MLA के पास चला गया. थाना में कोई नहीं. हम बैठे. फिर रात को आए, थानेदार आया, DSP आया. Outright, they refused to take our complaint. They are saying, no, FIR has already been done. And, we will not admit this complaint. Now, this is new. They always say this. Hamisha bolte hain. But ultimately, they also take a complaint and give a receipt. Because see, what happens is that after every such case, the police goes and files an FIR in which they repeat their story. because their story is a story where an encounter has happened. They give their story. The counter story is never admitted. So abhi tak, they used to, even from the 1st January incidents, they used to take, after a lot of ladai, they would take our complaints and they would give a receipt, which then is one step, because then it goes in their file and we have proof that they have taken our complaint. In this case, in the PDI Itawat case, they refused to take even our complaint. So the Thana refused. Next day, we went to the SP office. Again, we were kept waiting for 3-4 hours. And only when we said we are now going to do a press conference, and then they heard about it, then they called us. And again, same thing, SP is saying very categorically, he said, I will not admit your complaint. I am under no obligation to do so. So we said, please give it in writing. He said, no, I will not write. So this is the face of tyranny now in Bastar. कि तुम जाओगे, तुम्हारा फोर्स लेके अंदर जाएगा, सीधे तुम गोली चलाओगे on workers. I mean, these are mazdurs, you know. Keval, that tendupatta is their only cash income. You know that in a year's cycle, thoda, for some weeks they get that time. Nahi to they go to the Mirchi Badis of Telangana. It's a very important season for them. So तुम वहां जाके तुम सीधे जाके गोली चलाओगे, उसके बाद में जो लाश है वो लाश को तुम रिलेटिव्स को बोलोगे, क्योंकि इट्स 20 किलोमीटर्स रोड तक, तो कौन उठाएगा? तो रिलेटिव्स को बोलेंगे तुम उठाओ, तो रिलेटिव्स उठाएंगे स्ट्रेचर्स पर. Now they have body bags because there are so many people being killed in Bastar. So they have ready-made body bags where they can put the dead body and they can zip it, because earlier they had to wrap it in the plastic. So, you can imagine the number of deaths, you know, that they have a zipper bag now. Then usko lekar jayenge. The relative is carrying the dead body of uska bhai, uska chacha, uska koi bhi. उधर तक जाने के बाद में उसको कस्टडी में ले लेंगे. जो तुमको मदद किया गांव का आदमी, तुम उसको then you take in custody for questioning. You know, you also semi-arrest them and then take them to the police line. So the people in Pidia Itawar were also taken like that, 30 of them. And later some of them were arrested, most of them were left. But then, as I said, even a simple complaint was not admitted in this case, either in the Thana or at the SP level, which means that this is like a full circle, that you can come, you can kill, you can then file your own FIR. The charge sheet will be also a false one. And there will be some kind of a false trial in court. And जो असली जो चीज़ है, जो न्याय है, वो कभी भी मिलेगा नहीं. असली बात कभी बाहर नहीं आएगा. और जो लोग बुलेट इंजरी सस्टेन करके हॉस्पिटल में है, उसको किसी को मिलने नहीं देंगे. नो जर्नलिस्ट को मिलने देंगे, नो सोशल वर्कर, नो लॉयर, किसी को भी मिलने नहीं देंगे. हॉस्पिटल में पूरा पुलिस लगा देंगे, किसी को मिलने नहीं देते. इस तरह का वहां पे पूरा एक हालत है. फिर जो भी विरोध कर रहा है, हाँ, ओपन मीन्स से अंदर वाले जो भी लड़ रहे हैं वो एक लड़ाई, एक तरह का लड़ाई. जो ओपन एंड डेमोक्रेटिक मीन्स से लड़ रहे हैं वो अलग तरह का लड़ाई. किसी को भी लड़ाई ठीक से उसका डेमोक्रेटिक राइट्स मानकर, दे हैव अ राइट टू डिसेंट, दे हैव अ राइट टू प्रोटेस्ट. यू आर अ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल, यू हैव टू आंसर. Nobody is there to answer. So it is like a free for all. The collectors, some of them have admitted, हम क्या करें मैडम, हम तो नौकर है, बोलता है बीजापुर का कलेक्टर. When we took, after a series of fake encounters, we took the family members of each one, we went to the collector. कि पुलिस से बात करना फालतू है, we'll talk to the collector, that you take responsibility. The collector is saying, he said, madam, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम तो नौकर है. Then why are you here? You know? So it's a it's very difficult actually to communicate the crisis in which the people of Bastar are. It is like one big jail. Bastar is like one big jail. So it's not only the number of people who are in jail, but actually the entire population is like in some kind of a jail. You know, every movement unka is under surveillance. Any time, because the forces are always constantly coming in their villages, they are going into the homes. किसी को भी कभी भी पकड़ सकते हैं और पकड़ते हैं, मारते हैं, जान से मार देते हैं. मतलब बहुत ही एक बुरा हालत है. इसको कैसे एड्रेस करें? और बस्तर के लोगों ने बहुत हिम्मत दिखाई है, खूब लड़ाई लड़ी है और बहुत हिम्मत दिखाई है. अभी युवा वर्ग 2021 से लड़ रहा है, उनको दबाया जा रहा है. तो डेमोक्रेसी नाम का चीज अभी बस्तर में नहीं है. और 1 जनवरी जब से बीजेपी का स्टेट गवर्नमेंट आ गया है, तब से और भी खतरनाक हो गया है. सो उनको कंप्लीट इम्प्यूनिटी अभी है. तो इसलिए कलेक्टिवली हम लोग सबके लिए, ऑल ऑफ अस, बिकॉज बस्तर एज यू नो इज इन द 5th शेड्यूल एरिया. It a large majority of people in Bastar are Adivasis. You know, how do you not only protect them, but you actually ensure their rights, their development? तो ये सब नहीं तो empty words है, डेवलपमेंट ये सब. क्योंकि जब वो सर्वाइव कर रहा है, अपना जीवन जीने के लिए सर्वाइव कर रहा है, तो डेवलपमेंट वो सब का कहाँ बात आएगा? पहले तो वो जिंदा रहेगा तो डेवलपमेंट आएगा. And there is no exaggeration. Whatever I've actually been able to communicate to you in this short span of time is very, very little. It's just not even a drop. The situation is in Bastar is so critical. It is perhaps the most critical. Abhi aaj ke din mein, of course, we have different pockets in the country, which, and the entire country, of course, is in a bad shape. But Bastar is certainly one region where the poorest, amongst the poorest people of our country, are at, are constantly under the foot of the police. And police is not just police, police is paramilitary, and paramilitary takes its order from the center. Remember that. It's not this the state. Center से paramilitary का डायरेक्ट, आजकल ये बात मैं सुन रही हूँ कि डायरेक्ट अभी व्हाट्सएप जा रहा है सीआरपीएफ को. तो जो पहले था ना कि एसपी इज इन कंट्रोल ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट, आई डोंट थिंक इट अप्लाइज एनीमोर. So we are in very critical times. So how do we fight this battle, and how do we ensure that Bastar doesn't again become a victim, and another East India Company का फिर से पूरा टाइप का हम लोग के सभी एरियाज में नहीं आ जाए? उसके लिए कैसे हम लड़ाई लड़े, वो बहुत बड़ा अब सवाल है. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, madam, for your excellent description of the pitiable conditions and helplessness of the people and how to sort out the issues there. I'm sorry to stop you.
I'm sorry,
because there is a time constraint also.
Yes.
Now I request the Venugopal sir, editor, Vikshanam. Actually, it is Vikshanam, not Vikshanam. Trends of urbanization and tribal challenges, issues in Central India.
Chairman PNVK Shastri Garu. Shastri Garu has been an idol for me for a long time. He worked in Adilabad and he has been a friend of tribals for more than 4 decades. He wrote a book on Kumram Bhim and the heroic traditions of tribal revolts in Adilabad. And I'm
5 decades.
5 decades. I'm happy to speak under his chairmanship, and my co-panelists, friends in the gallery, good morning. Actually, it's a very long and sad tale, story of resistance, story of repression, and we are 4 speakers in 1.5 hour time. So that means I am scheduled to speak in 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know whether I'll be able to do justice in 15-20 minutes to give you at least a glimpse of what is happening in Central Indian forests. Particularly, I was asked to talk about trends of corporatization and tribal challenges and issues in Central India. Though it's a bit repetition to what my friend Bela Bhatia elaborately explained, I would like to start from there and then go to what is corporatization and why corporatization is leading to this kind of militarization, and added with that a saffronization. At the exact time when we are speaking about Central Indian tribals, Central Indian Adivasis, there has been a war going on against them. In the last 7 months, starting from January 1st, 2024, when a 6-month-old child was killed, Bela explained that to you. I need not go into the details. Since then, about 160 people were killed. Out of those 160, at least 120 or 110 were non-combatant, non-Maoist Adivasis. They are from tendu-leaf pickers to farm laborers to ordinary tribals. There are 3 or 4 students of 10 to 12 years age. There is a girl who was deaf and dumb. If you go on reading that list and who is there, there is an all-out war against tribals, against Adivasis of Central Indian forests, particularly in Bastar and spread to Gadchiroli in Maharashtra. Why is this happening? Actually, Government of India, the Home Minister himself, on December 1st, 2023, said in Ranchi, addressing BSF launching parade, we are going to start an Operation Kagar. Kagar is a Hindi word which means lost. This is a lost operation. We would like to uproot Maoists from Central Indian forests and would like to make India a Maoist-free India. So from there, the suppression of tribals starts from the announcement of Operation Kagar. That announcement was made on December 1st, and from January 1st, this operation started. From January 1st to July, till recently, there have been more than 30 encounters, quote-unquote encounters. Many of them are not real encounters. As Bela said, tendu-leaf pickers were taken and killed. Tribals, villagers were taken and killed. Why is this happening? Actually, this is the result of corporatization. This is the result of mineral exploitation. For a long time, the forest resources have been used as exploitation of forest resources. Even in the government language itself, they don't even say use of or consumption of. They say the exploitation. Exploitation, this word has come from British colonial period. Actually, it is recorded that most of the railway lines, the sleeper timber in Britain is from Central Indian forests. Starting from there, Central Indian forest wealth has been looted. From this exploitation, then came in 1990s, privatization of this loot. And from there, it went to corporatization. And that corporatization is being supported by militarization. That's why this is a process. Starting from exploitation of why do we exploit forest resources? Because all these things have come from forest wealth. Our consumption, our greed, the society's greed. The people of plains want tribal resources, forest resources. That's how forest resources are being looted for a long time, maybe 150 years or 200 years. But in the recent period, in the post-globalization era, from the 1990s onwards, the exploitation has reached its height, and corporate companies are leading this loot. And because tribals are protesting, tribals are resisting, and that resistance is also supported by armed resistance from insurgents, it came to militarization. Bastar and Central Indian forests are the most militarized part in the country now, maybe besides Kashmir and besides Northeast. Kashmir is a different case and Northeast is a different case. But here, you will be surprised to note that there have been drone bombing and helicopter bombing in Central Indian forests in the last 6 months. So why is this happening? Then we have to go to this, as Bella said, this is a long and sad tale. We can go on and on giving examples of what is happening here. Why is this happening? As I told, first we started with timber, and then we went to land, and then we went to water, and then we have come to minerals. What are the minerals? Why are we going? Why Indian society, Indian state? Because I was asked to speak about role of state and civil society. Why is state going there? What is the role of civil society? According to this mineral calculations, Indian mining calculations, India is divided into 5 or 6 zones. This part, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra. These 6-7 states, forests in these 6 abutting these borders, this area comes under 2 different belts. One is called Northeastern Peninsular Belt, and the other is called Central Belt. In this belt, we have more than 28 rich, valuable, much needed minerals. Coal, iron ore, manganese, mica, bauxite, copper, kyanite, chromite, apatite, uranium, limestone, which is called dolomite, marble, gems, graphite, tin, you name any mineral that is there in this area. And 93% of iron ore that is available in the country is in this area. 100% of kyanite that is available in the country is in this area. 84% of coal is in this area. 70% of chromite is in this area. 70% of mica is in this area. Coming to Chhattisgarh, leave alone all the other areas, all the other states. Coming to Chhattisgarh alone, Chhattisgarh has all 28 minerals, 52 lakh tons of coal. That is 18% of what is available in the whole country. 2.7 billion tons of iron ore. That is 19% of the whole country. 37% of tin available in the country. All that is there in Chhattisgarh. And just coming to crossing the border into Maharashtra, that's called Gadchiroli district. Gadchiroli government wants to make it steel hub of India by 2030. That means Gadchiroli, all the forests will be denuded, all the people will be, tribals will be, Adivasis will be displaced, and they will make it a steel hub because iron ore is there. Because of these rich wealth, just like Arab countries which have rich oil resources, they have been continuously for the last 60 years, 70 years under the iron heels of US imperialism and all the other countries. Now, in India, Central India, because of this rich wealth, is being suppressed. And how they are suppressed? Liberalization of mining. Mining has been there under British colonial rule, it was under colonial government, and post 47, it came under Government of India, but it was under public sector. But post 1993, liberalization of mining has entered into the books. National Mineral Policy in 1993 was announced for the first time. And that National Mineral Policy was again changed post 2008. In 2008, new National Mineral Policy has come. Now in 2018 and 2019, draft mineral policies have been given. All these policies want to exploit more displaced tribals, make the land free of resistance, free of protest, to explore the minerals. To explore the minerals and send it to multinational corporations or their comprador corporations here. And particularly, we have so many laws. Shastri Garu, because he worked as a civil servant for many years, he knows many of these, and they're only on paper. The Mines and Mineral Regulation and Development Act is there. It's called MMDR Act. This MMDR Act was promulgated in 1957, but as and when corporates need those minerals, as and when MNCs need those minerals, there have been so many amendments. In 72, it was amended. 86, it was amended. 94, it was amended. 99, it was amended. 2015, it was amended. And now they have almost, just like they denuded forests, they denuded this act. There is no, it's only on paper and there is nothing. Because of this, because of these policy changes, they started giving reconnaissance permit to private companies. There are three kinds of permits, three kinds of licenses. One, to explore. Now we have been seeing in Nallamala for uranium, they are doing this reconnaissance permits. And then if you recognize that, if you find out that there is a resource, then prospecting licenses. From prospecting licenses, they will go to composite licenses. That means the whole land will be given to you. Leased, on the name, on the paper, it will be said leased. 5 acres lease, but we have seen in Karnataka, in gold mines and iron ore mines, he has taken 100 acres for lease and explored and took away minerals in 5,000 acres. Gali Janardhan Reddy, you know his name. All his scandals have come into the picture. There is a organization called the Indian Bureau of Mines that gives all the details of who has been given the lease, how many leases have been given. According to that, leases as on the latest statistics are available from 31st March 2023, 1 year ago. There have been 3,007 lease licenses given. Out of 3,007, 2,766 are given to private. NMDC is there, for example. Government organizations are there. APMDC is there. Telangana Mineral Development Corporation is there. But they are not giving to even these public sector organizations. Private sector has been, out of 3,000, 2,766 have gone to private sector. And in that, again, these 7 states, in Chhattisgarh, 158 licenses were given to private. Out of 158 licenses, 25,491 hectares of land, that means about 60,000 acres of land has gone to them. In Jharkhand, 100 licenses. Madhya Pradesh, 598 licenses. Maharashtra, 113 licenses. Odisha, 118 licenses. Telangana, 79 licenses. All these areas, so many. So if you take these Central Indian forests, there are about, out of 3,000 in the country, 1,500 are in this part of the country only. So because of this corporatization, because of this corporate loot movement. Maoist movement has been there since 1981-82, and they have been protesting. Tribals, Adivasis, particularly Gonds and other Halbas and other tribes, they have been, with the support of Maoists, resisting and protesting. Of course, Maoists are engaged in armed struggle. Because of this, government went on militarizing the place. They want a Maoist-free India, Maoist-free Central Indian forest, because they want to give away this complete mineral wealth to MNCs, to corporates. There are so many corporates, even to name them, because locally they are known under a different name, but they exploit, they they take away the mineral and send it to MNCs. Lloyd's Metal and Energy Limited, Surajgarh Iron Ore Mines, SR, Vedanta, Adani, Tata Adani is now in Hasdev Forest. So you name any corporate company in the country involved in mining, that is there in the Central Indian Forest. Because of this, government, we are talking about the role of state. State has violated at a number of times Forest Rights Act 2006, Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, PISA and Forest Rights Act give the local tribals, local Adivasis, right over land, jal, jungle, jameen, and they are also fighting for Izzat. According to some of the judgment or various other judgments, according to one of 70 Act in Andhra Pradesh, the previous Andhra Pradesh, even government cannot enter tribal land, cannot occupy tribal land without the explicit permission of Grama Sabha. But Grama Sabhas are not even considered. People are not even considered, and even if when Grama Sabha is taking place, there will be a militarized Grama Sabha, and with force, with use of force, they will be made to agree to setting up camp, laying road, constructing buildings, and finally mining. Because of this, actually 2023, Government of India brought the Forest Conservation Act, an amendment, and according to that, or according to forest policy drafts of 2018 and 19, they have started saying something called Green Credit Scheme. Under Green Credit Scheme, they openly said involving industry for plantation on degraded forests and non-forest land. Private sector participation, increasing private sector participation for afforestation on degraded forest land. 85 to 90% land for forest, for industry, 10 to 15% land for tribals, local tribals. And Shastri Garu mentioned about ecotourism models, zoological gardens. Because of all this, tribal life, Adivasis life is being targeted, they are being killed, they are being raped, they are being displaced, their habitations have been burnt. And not only this, not only for corporate, with corporate interests. Operation Kagar, I started with Operation Kagar. Operation Kagar is not a new thing. In 91, 92, in the same area, Jan Jagaran Abhiyan started. This Jan Jagaran Abhiyan, for the first time, wanted to remove Maoists from there, wanted to make Adivasis helpless, whatever little help they were getting from Maoists, and give away the land to multinationals. Jan Jagaran Abhiyan failed. And then in 2005, they started Salva Judum. With Salva Judum, lakhs of people have been displaced. At least 2 lakh tribals have come to crossing the border, come to Andhra Pradesh. They are still in Khammam district and other districts. That salva judum was struck down by Supreme Court in 2011. Then all the salva judum SPOs have been turned into district reserve guards. So Supreme Court's judgment was not even respected, was not followed. Then Operation Green Hunt started because salva judum was struck down. Operation Green Hunt, then Operation Samadhan, then Operation Prahar, then Operation Anaconda, now Operation Kagar. So all these operations are basically giving all Indians legacy of natural forest reserves wealth to corporates, to multinational corporations. So when I was asked to talk about role of state and role of civil society, role of state is very well known. It is everybody to see. Role of state is to loot India. Role of state is to give away India's natural resources to MNCs and corporates. Then comes what is the role of civil society? What is role of us? What is role of you and me? I think tribals are not asking for our help. Tribals are not asking for our solidarity also. They have been fighting. They know fighting, and this is not first time, starting from Santals. Or in our land, we can go back to Samakka Saramma, Pagididarazu. Starting from there, tribals have been fighting establishment, fighting kingdoms, fighting monarchies, fighting quote-unquote democracies. Santals have started the real anti-colonial struggle in this country. For 200 years, they have been fighting, and they will fight, they will win. We have to ask ourselves, what is our role? As middle-class people, as literates, as educated, as intellectuals, we call ourselves intellectuals. We have no qualms to call ourselves intellectuals. What is our role? If this kind of society is going on, this kind of repression is going on, this kind of loot is going on, what are you going to say? If you love India, if you love India's resources, if you love India's legacy to be continued to future generations, all of that is going to go to Japan and US and UK and Germany, wherever. What is your role? Because tribals, as I told, from Sidhu, Kanu, Veernarayan Singh, Gundadur, Ramji Gond, Komaram Bhim, there is a long list of fighters. They fought and they won sometimes, they lost sometimes. It's not their question. I think it is a question of urban middle class. But at a time when even Congress Party's manifesto was called Manifesto for Redistribution of Wealth, was called urban Maoist. What do you do? Whether you as Girish Karnad said, I am also an urban Maoist. He played that. There is no other way than to support tribals, even if you are called, even if you are branded Maoist. That is the state of, I don't know whether I spoke about trends of corporatization, starting from exploitation to corporatization. I won't stop at corporatization because all that corporatization would have been defeated by tribals themselves if there was no militarization. And if there was no saffronization to that, because saffronization thinks that monopoly is the only way, not decentralization. Saffronization also thinks that, as Golwalkar said, Muslims, Christians, and communists are the enemies of the country. So saffronization with added vigor is doing this militarization, this corporatization. That is the trends of corporatization in Central Indian forests. It is our duty to respond to this. If you think, I'm not asking you to believe in whatever I say or support whatever I say. If you think these resources can be looted, you support the government. If you think these resources can be given to other countries, these resources need not be protected for future generations, you have every right. But please ask yourselves.
Thank you, Gopal Garu, for your excellent, statistically supported, evidence-based explanation of the issues in Central India. I will add only one point. In this Central India, most of the 75 particularly vulnerable tribal groups that have been declared by Government of India to provide special protection because of their vulnerability, because of population problem, because of low literacy, because of gathering economy. If they have to face all these issues, can they really face? And it is the Government of India which has recognized these people for special protection, special development, and they have, earlier they called it as primitive tribal groups. Now they have said particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Name change, I don't think they can really change the approach towards those people. So I am more concerned with these particularly vulnerable tribal groups because they don't have any other source of livelihood. Most of them I have seen, especially in borders of India, Andhra Pradesh, and Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, and other in Odisha, where I have extensively toured. They are still in gathering economy. They are still, most of the literacy are there, and all kinds of health malnutrition issues. They are the bottom of the ladder. So we must, as Venugopal said, we must all, as educated, we must concern with that and raise the issues in all forums, so that at least somewhere people will hear. Okay, now I request Srinadhara Garu to speak. He's an advocate from Rajmahendra, but has been working on tribal land issues, supporting the government simultaneously at the Integrated Tribal Development Agency, as well as the Directorate of Tribal Welfare in Andhra Pradesh. And he is my friend for more than 4 decades. Thank you very much.
Shastri Garu and dear friends. In fact, I am the last batsman and only 1 hour is left out to me. Anyway, I will finish within 15-20 minutes. The situation today is the Indians today. In fact, to celebrate the differences, inequalities, and systematic failures concerning the tribals in the country. The tribals are living in rich resource areas, but leading very poor conditions. That is the reason that the state is trying to displace the tribals and rob the resources which are located in the forest areas. So you know that the tribal land alienation issue is a very key issue. It touches the root of the tribal economy. Unlike others, the land is not a commodity for the tribal communities. It is the common property resources. Historically, the problem lies in the processes and practices of the colonial India in Andhra region, perhaps here Nizam. The the land relation issue has emerged because the Nizam here, 1920, opened the areas to the outsiders. He himself invited the outsiders to come and take the land. And he declared an open policy to entrust the large chunk of lands to the outsiders by conducting auctions. So on the other hand, the forest bureaucracy expanded its reserve boundaries, affecting the tribal land occupations in the Nizam area. Similarly, in Andhra region, the British in colonial period, so they introduced the Jamindari system, different land tenure systems, Jamindari system, Raitwari system, Mahalwari system, Mokasa system, Mutadari system. These are the different land tenure systems created feudal chiefs in the tribal areas. And finally, they displaced the tribals from their own lands and made the tribals as the laborers in their tribal areas. So here Nizam, of course, all these resistance, oppressive policies of the Nizam culminated into promulgation of the 1949 regulations because of the Komaram struggle. Similar rebellious movements took place in British colonial area, Andhra region also, several rebellion movements. So that also culminated into 1917, first act enacted by the British land transfer. It imposes certain restrictions in transfer of lands between the tribal and non-tribal. Of course, after the commencement of the Indian Constitution, the special provisions made to safeguard the interest of the tribal communities, the fifth schedule of the Constitution. So now the state has, the role of the state is to protect the tribal communities. But it changes its color from the protector to the predator. So now the role is that the state is playing as a predator and completely displacing the tribal communities from their own survival resources. So there is no check for infiltration of non-tribals to the scheduled area. Though there are laws protecting the interest of the tribal communities, particularly land. So unlike in other scheduled areas of the country, in Andhra Pradesh, very radical law is there, Land Regulation 1 of 70. It completely prohibits the transfer of lands in favor of non-tribals. That means a non-tribal cannot take the land either from the tribal or from the government. Even government is also considered as a non-tribal for the purpose of implementation of the land transfer regulation. That means a government cannot assign any land either to the company, with the members of the non-tribals, or any non-tribal can take the land from the government. There is a complete ban on it. In spite of that, in spite of the several regulations made, promulgated in 5th schedule of the Constitution, today, if you see that in the Aristal of Warangal district, around 71% of the lands are held by non-tribals, and more than 52% in Khammam district, and more than 60% in Aristal Hyderabad district. The land is not in a political agenda. That is the key area, in fact, but it never be seen as a political agenda for any political parties. The successive governments have completely neglected the implementation of land transfer regulations. There is no difference, Congress, TRS, government, that government. Because all these political parties are running their show on basing on their vote bank policies. They need vote of the non-tribals. They also need the vote of the tribals. They are creating conflict between these things. Somehow they're managing to winning the seats in the tribal areas and completely neglecting the tribal land issue in the scheduled areas. So you know that in 2006, the government constituted Kone Rangara Committee. And the Maoists put an agenda before the government, the land agenda before the government. So there are two persons, Garglani was there and also the DLN Murthy were there. They are the members of the committee. They came up with land issues and placed it before the table, but somehow the government could not continue that. So if you see that in Hyderabad, thousands of acres of the land in the name of Bill Makta lands in Warangal district, thousands of lands, government lands are under the control of the non-tribals in the Khammam district. Aswapuram Mandal, Chindragonda Mandal. So different mandals. The non-tribals are continuing their hold. So the complete Girglani has given list of that. How the non-tribals are usurping the lands of tribals, how they're grabbing the lands of tribals, how they're holding the non-tribals lands of the tribal communities, how the government lands are under the control of the non-tribals are holding the land. But no government, no successive government took it seriously and took an action against the non-tribal and for eviction from the lands. So again, after bifurcation of the United Andhra Pradesh, even Telangana, see that number of laws were made by the Telangana Rashtra Assembly TRS government for last 10, for last two years period, 2 5, ruling period. So the government enacted the several laws completely violating the Tribal Protected Land Transfer Regulations 1 of 17. So it came up with a policy that regulation of the Sada Bainamas, that means unregistered documents. So the non-tribals took this advantage of the regulation policy of the state. They came up with the antedated dates because there is a law, 1 of 70 regulation is there. It prohibits the transfer of land between tribal to non-tribal as well as non-tribal among the non-tribals. They came up with unregistered documents. So they got it regularized the unregistered documents and got the Patadar passbook and title deeds over the lands. And it helped this policy helped the non-tribals to legitimate their claims, legitimate their illegal land holdings in the schedule area. Thousands of the acres of the land. It is not a 1 or 5 to 10 acres of the land, thousands of acres of the land. And the government came up with some kind of financial assistance program to give the farmers. Some of these documents helped the non-tribals to to get the financial assistance from the Telangana government, and some of they're maintaining all the record of rights. Now you can see that the non-tribal names are very much seen in the record of rights. Whereas the old Pahanis, old Adangas, completely destroyed by the Telangana Revenue Department. Because if the records are there, then the tribals may come up with documents and they may raise the issue of their ownership over the land. So they completely destroyed all the original records and they came up with a policy of regularization of the unregistered documents. They came up with a Dharani portal. They came up with the different policies completely affected the interest of the tribal communities. So if you see that in the legal system is there. I don't say that there is no legal system. The legal system is there. But the legal system itself is really in concept with the tribal communities. The tribals never bothered about the document evidence. The European logic is that the British invented this kind of legal system in the country. So the courts give credence to the document evidence rather than the oral evidence. But the tribals, the documentary evidence is a real concept to them. They earmark the land from the rock to tree like that. So they never bother about the survey, settlement, and ownership. They have the community ownership for the resources. They have clan-based ownership for the resources. They never bother about the transfer. Transfer of land is a complete alien for their minds. So now here in the Nizam policies, there in Andhra, the British policies completely fragmented kind of brought a fragmented kind of an approach and created a right-based kind of thing over the land holdings. So now that created very different kind of situation and also established the courts to look into the tribal land disputes. So now if you see the Andhra and Telangana, there are 3 layers of the courts. One layer is the special deputy collector, tribal affair. Whenever the case comes, if it is a dispute in the tribal and tribal, he takes up a inquiry and kind of pass an order. Then the next level is the collector or the POI TDA. The third level, very interestingly, third level is the government. Government holds the court. Who holds the court, The minister holds the court. Even the collectors pass an order in favor of tribals. There you will get the stay. Non-tribals will get the stay very easily from the minister from tribal welfare. So the minister holds the court. He or she passes an order staying the operation of the order passed in favor of the tribal. There it's a matter. So even some order is passed by the collector, especially petty collector lower level, the non-tribal immediately approaches High Court and get the stay order. Once the stays is obtained by the non-tribal, there ends the matter because nobody knows when the matter will reach for final hearing. So like that, even the court orders are in favor of tribals. Somehow the implementing machinery, the enforcing authorities are not implementing the orders. For example, in Telangana, there is, I think, that 20% of the orders are held up in the sense that the government machinery has not yet implemented the orders. 20% of the lands orders where the orders are given in favor of the tribals and the against the non-tribals. So this is the very complex land issue is very complex issue, and the political parties and they have clear nexus between the non-tribals and the political parties. So yes, as a friend said that the MLAs, the tribal MLAs, tribal MPs, though they are the tribal MLAs and MPs, they have been chosen by the non-tribal, managed non-tribal political parties and all. So they are sailing with the leadership of the non-tribal leadership, and they are unable to unable to see that their identity is linked to the areas and the tribal community status. They're not bothering about it. Very interestingly, you can see that. So when the issue came before the government that to amend the land transfer regulation of 1 of 70, because the non-tribals influence, then most of the tribal MLAs voted for amendment to the 1 of 70 regulation, except Governor say 1 or 2 MLAs who opposed that. But all the tribal, most of the 90% of tribal MLAs, so they sailed with the non-tribal political parties and leadership and said that we don't want any 1 of 70 regulation. So that is the situation in for the tribal areas concept. So the land, that is one part, land alienation is one part. The second part is that the state itself is displacing, uprooting the tribal community in the name of development. That's a big area. This, of course, mining is the one aspect, and the dams, the big dams, for example, the Polavaram project. So Polavaram project, the government is taking up of that project that constructing on the river Godavari and displacing more than 60,000 tribals from the area. So now you see that around all these tribal areas, all these are scheduled areas. The Polavaram project, where the submergence areas in the scheduled areas. Some more non-tribals could be able to get the land acquisition compensation by showing their documents, which are illegal, in the sense that as far as the law is concerned, the land situated in the scheduled area once belong to Adivasis, not belong to the state. Even state is not the owner of the lands as far the scheduled areas are concerned. Originally, the native title of the land is belong to the tribal communities, Adivasi communities, not the state. So the non-tribal someone managed to get the settlement pattas or the lands in the scheduled areas. So in fact the settlement patta itself is questionable. Because somehow they managed to get settlement pattas fraudulently on the lands belonging to the tribal communities between 70 and 76. So now those pattas have helped them to legitimize their claims and got the land acquisition compensation Polavaram project, and whereas the tribals case, the dispute completely closed because of the government passing awards to the non-tribals and the land acquisition process. That is one aspect. Second aspect is that the 10,000 acre land, Warambok land, government land, whereas the tribals have been depending on the lands under the Polavaram project submergence area. But the tribals cannot able to, they're not able to claim their compensation on those government lands because they don't have any patta, assignment patta is there. It's only a common property there, and the tribals are using the land for their survival and also for grazing of their cattle and all. So they're unable to claim the compensation on those lands. That is another thing. And the third one is the legal system itself paved the way to non-tribals to get an orders from the courts, and which helped them to claim the land acquisition compensation. Even though there is a dispute between the tribal and non-tribal inclination, land is subsisting, is persisting, is there. But somehow they managed to get the compensation. So one project officer, one land acquisition officer passed an awards in 124 hours, 340 awards in favor of non-tribals. So he started inquiry around 6 o'clock, and he passed. He started passing orders even to early hours of 2 o'clock. So once a land acquisition officer just before he is getting transferred from that position, so he passed several orders in favor of non-tribals and enabling to get the land acquisition compensation under the Polar project. So this project So not only displacing the tribals from their land resources and also forest resources. So even till today, that Forest Rights Act is there. In fact, it is aimed to correct the historical injustice done by the state itself. Of course, I think that you may not see such a kind of a preamble in any historical legislations. The preamble of the Forest Rights Act, that means there's a long title for that, the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006. The preamble of the act itself says that the state has done historical injustice to the tribal communities. To reverse that historical injustice, the government of India enacted this Forest Rights Act. Even till today, even the law says that the state is perpetrating historical injustice continuously. They are unabated. There is no stop for that. So even under the Polarum project, the tribals in 123 habitations, they got pattas more than 6,000, either 6,700 acres of the land. Individual pattas, they got it. But so far, the government has not yet given any land acquisition compensation for the rights recognized under the Forest Rights Act 2006. Not yet. Even in Andhra and Telangana, there is no policy for that to pay land acquisition compensation to the rights recognized under the Forest Rights Act. On the other hand, the Land Acquisition Act, Land Acquisition Rehabilitation Act 2013, which says that the land acquisition compensation shall be paid to the revenue patta holders as well as the forest right holders. There is no difference between that. So one day the Central Act says that the forest right holders are entitled to claim the land acquisition compensation on par with any settlement of patta holder or any Raitwari patta holder. But so far in Andhra and Telangana, there is not only Andhra and Telangana, there is no policy in the country itself. So there is no national policy, there is no national law or guidelines saying that you have to pay land acquisition compensation once right is recognized under the FRA. So that is another situation. And moreover, I think particularly in submergence area, polar submergence areas, there are 167 community pattas are granted just in the period of 5 to 6 years and over 70,000 acres of the land. So far, no single pay compensation paid for the tribal communities over 70,000 acres of the land. So the Forest Rights Act recognizes the individual rights, and community forest resource rights. There are three areas. So in Andhra, Telangana, if you see that of course, the Telangana story is very bad story compared to the Andhra situation. So here, in the name of Haritaharam, a forestation program, it completely displaced thousands of the tribal farmers from their recognized patches of the forest lands, forests. So completely, the forest conflict is like a war situation between the forest staff and the tribal communities. Most of the Warangal and Khammam and Hyderabad areas, they used the very coercive methods and processes to displace the tribal communities from their occupation of the forest lands. In fact, the law says that once the application is given for recognition of forest rights under the FRA, no forest official shall interfere with the possession and enjoyment of the forest occupant. In spite of the laws there, somehow the state used the brutal force against the tribal communities and displaced them. Even the pattas are granted in favor of the tribals, also they used that brutal force. So this is a very sad story in Telangana. So though there is a Forest Rights Act which says that the community rights shall be given to the Gram Sabha or the village communities. So more than 1,669 forest actions were allowed in the name of one Samrakshan Samitis, which is a pet organization of the forest bureaucrats, and granted more than 9.50 lakh acres of the land. Still, till today, the forest department is holding those land in spite of handing over the land to the people, handing over the land to the village institutions, the Gram Sabha, both in Andhra and Telangana. So this is on the other hand, that the law says that you have to recognize the community forest resources rights. Community forest resource right is, I think, that the very important key right given to the tribal communities throughout the country. CFR, what you can CFR. The right is the right to govern the forest areas. So I took a study in the 2016. I think that you can also see that the promise and performance of the Forest Rights Act. You can browse in the Google. You can see the reports of Andhra and Telangana. So the study shows that 39.50 lakh acres of the land where it is a potential forest area to be recognized as the CFR in Telangana and more than 35 lakhs in Andhra region. And even the large chunk of forest lands located within the cadastral boundaries of the village, wherein the Gram Sabha is having the domain over the resources, the Gram Sabha with an authority over the resources, but nowhere in Andhra and Telangana recognized the CFR rights in Andhra and Telangana. So this is the situation the community forest resource rights. So in throughout the country, I think that the around 40 million hectares of the land is there, and covering 1,70,000 villages, where the rights to be recognized over the CFR, community forest, that the people have the right to govern their areas, but that is not recognized. And my friend mentioned of the PACE Act, Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Area. So that speaks about the rural governance, that is related to the rural governance as far as the schedule is concerned. But in Telangana, the government is coming up with and promoting the urban bodies, municipalities in the scheduled areas. Very interestingly, there is no MESA. Like PESA, the government is supposed to bring out a law, Municipalities Extension to Scheduled Area Act. Because under the Article 243M of the Indian Constitution, there is an embargo, there is a clear injunction on the application of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment to the Scheduled Area. That is the reason that the Buria Committee was constituted and the Government of India enacted the PESA Act 1996. Similarly, there is also a clear embargo, there is a clear injunction created under the Constitution itself under Article 243(z)(c), wherein it says that for urban governance, the Government of India, the Parliament is only empowered to enact the law to extend the municipalities to scheduled areas. But in the country, there is no such enactment made by the Parliament by any successive government. That means it's a constitutional crisis as far as the municipal areas are concerned. We have the several municipalities in the country, the scheduled areas. Of course, in Orissa, Chhattisgarh, several municipalities are there. But there is no law. It's a constitutional crisis, I can say that constitutional crisis. And moreover, so without any enactment, the Telangana government trying to develop the urban bodies as a municipalities. Manuguru is one case. Of course, Palwansa was in 87. So there are different, now the urban bodies are emerging that they wanted to get it converted into municipalities, which is against the law. So I think in 2022, I had an opportunity to sit with the secretaries and throughout the ministers, the Minister of Panchayat Raj, Minister of Tribal Affairs, and all the secretaries of the country. So they were discussing about this, the Principal Secretary of Telangana raised the issue that, so we wanted to wanted to create, constitute the municipalities in the scheduled area. So what is the way out? There is no clue for the ministries. There is no clue for the ministries with regard to the extension of the provision in the Constitution. It is a constitutional obligation on the part of the Government of India to enact the separate law like PESA in the scheduled areas. Then I just hinted that in that meeting, they were surprised to know that. So in fact, 2013 itself, there was a bill placed before the Rajya Sabha that was sent for the standing committee to discuss on it. But it has been kept in the cold storage even till today. There is no governance as far as the municipality is concerned, the scheduled areas. So there is very vacuum. And on the other hand, that the PESA Act clearly says that. So why PESA Act? Because in the scheduled areas, the executive holds the powers of the judiciary, legislative, and executive, unlike in the general constitution. So in the general constitution, that the state has the different limbs of that. The judiciary will be separate, the executive will be separate, and legislative wings will be separate. But in the scheduled areas, the governor is the authority. Rajbhavan is the legislative house, not the assembly itself. So the governor is the authority. President of India is also authority. And they can amend the law. The governor can amend the law made by the parliament or assembly under 50 of the constitution. If the government the president wants to make a new law, that can also be done. So the executive, they are all the executive heads at the state and national level. That is one aspect. And the officers who are the enforcing authorities, collectors and down the line, they're supposed to implement the laws because they have failed. The Planning Commission told that the executive have failed to implement the laws made for the protection of the tribal communities. Let the power be given to the ground people. Well, let the people rule their areas governance. So that was the I mean, I think that is the premise for bringing of the PACE Act. But the law itself says that you have to bring the district level administrative systems in the scheduled areas in pattern on par with the sixth schedule of the Constitution. But nowhere in the country government has set up constituted district level autonomous bodies in the scheduled areas under the PACE Act to making them to enable to govern their own areas. That is not there. So that has not been implemented so far in the country. Of course, there are 50 areas spread out across the 10 states in the country. 10 states in the country. The state is not enabling the people to govern their areas. The Forest Right Act is there, but the state is not giving the right, I mean, is not recognizing the right of the tribal communities, people to govern their own forest areas, their own areas, scheduled areas. So this is the situation as far as the forest rates are concerned. The forest rates, as our friend said, that the corporatization has been very much seen as for the law. If you analyze the laws from the right beginning, from the 2019 to 2024, there's a lot of changes in the forest laws. The government of India enacted the rules, conservation of forest rules, which enabled the industries to take the land without any settlement of the forest rights on the FRA. But even in 2003, there was a law. So if the government wants to divert any forest land for any purposes, first they have to recognize and settle the rights of the tribal communities under the Forest Rights Act, under the Forest Right. So that was completely middled down, that was completely tinkered, and now they came up with the 2002 Forest Conservation Rules. In fact, there is a law, the 1980 Forest Conservation Act is there. No forest land shall be converted for non-forest purposes. So under that, again, 2002 rules says that no, even with the settlement of forest rights, one can take the land. The collector can issue preliminary clearance for diversion of the forest land. So again 2003, my friend mentioned about 2003 Conservation of Forest Amendment Act 2003. That in fact that act amended to ease out the business, industrial business, so they can divert the forest, and they exempted the deemed forest, unrecorded forest from the purview of the conservation of forest. Very sad. Earlier, 1980, very law says that no forest land shall be converted for non-forest purposes without permission from the central government. The permission clause is there. Now the government of India enacted the amendment, Conservation of Forest Amendment Act 2023. So it exempted from the purview of the conservation. That means now the international 100 kilometers, forest land situated 100 kilometers from the international boundaries, those forest lands are completely exempted from the Forest Conservation Act. Even for left-wing areas, if the military camps wanted to set up the forest, they wanted to set up the camps in the forest areas. That forest land, they can denude the forest and establish their military camps in the forest areas without any seeking any permission from the government of India. So the conservation laws for what? The conservation to protect conserve the forest. On the other hand, the government says that the global warming, they talks much about the global warming, green financing, green credit. So it's a big talk on it. But on the other hand, that it is completely making the forest available to the industries. And for all other purposes, completely completely ruining the interest of the tribal communities in the city areas. So I think that I'll stop here. There are many issues in that, but somehow I've given a brief paper, graphically identifying the land forest issues. I have sent to our friend Gunte Ravi. Then I think that he can share the copy. That would be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ravi. The subject is so vast. Issues are so complicated. Even half day or 1 day is not sufficient. But still, to sum up in one sentence, I can say that the Central India tribal areas officially declared as fifth scheduled areas are in turmoil The state and state machinery is supposed to support them, protect them, promote their welfare as per the constitutional provisions and legal provisions, are not doing their work, or sometimes they are doing their work against the provisions of the constitution. Then తెలుగులో ఏమంటారంటే కంచె చేరు వేస్తే ఏం చేయాలి? చేరుకి బలం లేదు, కంచె ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేయాలి, కంచె చేరు వేస్తుంది. దీనికి ఆన్సర్ ప్రజల నుంచి రావాలి, బయట నుంచి రాదు. సో ది పీపుల్, సారీ మేడం, suddenly shifted to Telugu.
No, that is
Sorry.
fine. No, that is fine.
So we are already delayed. I thank the panelists, Madam, Professor Linatra, and Professor Pallavi for patiently explaining all these issues. I thank Professor Ravi and Mr. Madam Lakshmi Madam for the opportunity given to me to participate in the subject. I have been working for the last 56 years. Now I think I will be able to continue for some more time. Still, all these years, from the day one, I was hoping that I will see a day when tribals will prosper, fight for their own rights, and then on par with any other person in the country. Hope will continue, hope should continue, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Right now, we have a small video from our beloved former Vice Chancellor, sir, who is currently in the US. Sir has always been our backbone and encouraged us from time to time in conducting all these programs. And sir was also there during the approval of this program as well. So I request Ashwin to kindly put the video. Thank you, sir. With your permissions. Felicitation.
Volume.
రిటైర్ అవుతున్న సందర్భంగా సభకు సభికులకు నమస్కారం. ఈరోజు అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ ఒక మన ఇద్దరు కొలీగ్స్ ప్రొఫెసర్ గుంటి రవి, ప్రొఫెసర్ లక్ష్మీ కుమారి ఇద్దరు కూడా రిటైర్ అవుతున్న సందర్భంగా ఈ నెలలో ఒక ట్రైబల్ ఇష్యూస్ మీద, గిరిజన ఆదివాసీ సమస్యల మీద ఒక సమగ్రమైన విస్తృతమైన అంతర్జాతీయ సమావేశాన్ని ఏర్పాటు చేయడం అనేది చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంది. మన సెమినార్ అంతర్జాతీయ సెమినార్లో ట్రైబల్ ఇష్యూస్ ఆదివాసీ సమస్యల మీద ప్రధానంగా ట్రైబల్ లైవ్లీహుడ్ ప్యాటర్న్స్ ఇష్యూస్ అండ్ స్ట్రాటజీస్ ఫర్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనే ఒక సమగ్రమైన టాపిక్ను తీసుకొని దాని మీద 2 రోజుల సెమినారు, దాదాపు ఒక మోర్ దాన్ 12 సెషన్స్, అటు ప్యానల్ డిస్కషన్సే కాకుండా ఇటు మన వాలిడిక్టరీ, తర్వాత ఇనాగరల్ సెషను, ఇవన్నీ కలుపుకుంటే మనకు దాదాపు మోర్ దాన్ 12 సెషన్స్, 13 సెషన్స్ జరుగుతున్నాయి. కాబట్టి ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనకు ఈ ఇతర ఆల్ ఓవర్ ఇండియానే కాకుండా ఇతర దేశాల నుంచి కూడా చాలామంది విద్యావేత్తలు, అకాడమిషియన్స్, ట్రైబల్ రైట్ యాక్టివిస్ట్స్, రకరకాల వాళ్ళు ఈ సెమినార్లో పాల్గొనడం కూడా చాలా సంతోషదాయకమైన విషయం. అయితే అంతేకాకుండా ముఖ్యంగా గుంటి రవి నాకు చాలా కాలం నుండి మంచి మిత్రుడు, స్నేహితుడు, ఆ తమ్ముడు లాంటి వాడు. అదేవిధంగా లక్ష్మీ కుమారి కూడా ఇక్కడ వచ్చిన దగ్గర నుంచి చాలా డిపార్ట్మెంట్కు, అటు యూనివర్సిటీకి మంచి సర్వీస్ చేసిందనే విషయాన్ని కూడా మనం మర్చిపోవడానికి లేదు. అయితే ఈ ప్యానల్ డిస్కషన్ విషయానికి వచ్చే వరకు మనకు రోల్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ అండ్ సివిల్ సొసైటీ ట్రైబల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఇన్ ఇండియా, ఇది ఈ ప్యానల్. ఇది ఒక రకంగా ప్లీనరీ డిస్కషన్ లాంటిది. ఇందులో మాట్లాడమని నాకు అవకాశం ఇచ్చిన ముఖ్యంగా ప్రొఫెసర్ గుంటి రవికి నేను చాలా కృతజ్ఞుడిని. నన్ను గుర్తుపెట్టుకొని నేను ఇక్కడ ప్రస్తుతం లేనప్పటికీ కూడా యుఎస్ఏ నుండి మాట్లాడడానికి అవకాశం కల్పించినందుకు కూడా చాలా ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటా ఉన్నా. ఈ విషయానికి వచ్చే వరకు ఈ రోల్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ అండ్ సివిల్ సొసైటీ అనేది రెండు కూడా చాలా కీలకమైన అంశాలు. మనం ఇక్కడ సివిల్ సొసైటీ రోల్ ముఖ్యంగా గిరిజన ప్రాంతాల్లో, ఆదివాసీ ప్రాంతాల్లో కనుక మనం తీసుకుంటే ఇది చాలా డెలికేట్. ఇట్ ఇస్ లైక్ కత్తి మీద సాము లాంటిది, టైట్ రోప్ వాకింగ్ లాగా. ఎందుకంటే ముఖ్యంగా భారతదేశం యొక్క సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ మనకు షెడ్యూల్డ్ 5 ఏరియాస్, షెడ్యూల్డ్ 6 ఏరియాస్ అని ఉన్నాయి. మనకు ఈ నార్త్ ఈస్ట్ బార్డర్ ఏరియాస్ ఉన్న ట్రైబల్ ఏరియాస్ అన్నీ కూడా షెడ్యూల్ 6లో ఉంటే, మనకు సెంట్రల్ ఇండియా మిగతా భారతదేశంలో అంతా ఉన్నాయి కూడా షెడ్యూల్డ్ 5 ఏరియాస్. ఈ 2 ఏరియాస్లో మనకు భారత ప్రభుత్వానికి ఒక భిన్నమైన పాలసీ ఉన్నట్టు పడుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే షెడ్యూల్డ్ 5 ఏరియాస్లో ఇంటర్వెన్షనిస్ట్, తర్వాత రిసోర్సెస్ ఎక్స్ప్లాయిటేషను, తర్వాత ఒక ఆదివాసీలకు డిస్ప్లేస్మెంటు సమస్యలు కలిగించే విధంగా తమ రిసోర్సెస్ డిప్లేషన్ అయ్యే విధంగా, అక్కడి జీవితాలు చిన్నాభిన్నం అయ్యే విధంగా వీళ్ళ అగ్రెసివ్గా ఇంటర్వెన్షనిస్ట్ కార్పొరేట్ సెక్టార్కు డెవలప్మెంట్కు దోహదపడంగా ఉన్నాయన్నది విషయం వాస్తవం, అందరూ గుర్తించిన విషయమే. ఈ ప్రాంతాల్లోనే మొదటి నుంచి మనకు గిరిజన ఉద్యమాలు, ఆదివాసీ ఉద్యమాలు చాలా బలంగా ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ ఇంత బలంగా ఉన్న చోట సివిల్ సొసైటీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ పనిచేయడం అనేది చాలా కష్టంతో కూడుకున్నటువంటి పని. అదేవిధంగా నార్త్ ఈస్ట్ అయితేనో బార్డర్ ఏరియాస్ కాబట్టి మనకు స్టేట్ అక్కడ కూడా రిప్రెసివ్ రోల్ ఉన్నప్పటికీ కూడా అక్కడ కొంత డెవలప్మెంట్కి సంబంధించింది ఎక్కువ ఫండింగ్ చేస్తూ ఉన్నది. ఇది మనకు ప్రధానంగా గుర్తించాల్సిన విషయం. కానీ ఇక్కడ మాత్రం సివిల్ సొసైటీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ పనిచేయాలంటే ఎంత కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ కమిట్మెంటు, రాజ్యాంగపరమైన విలువల ప్రకారం ప్రజాస్వామిక పద్ధతుల్లో చట్టాన్ని లోబడి పనిచేసినా కానీ ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ వెరీ సిన్సియర్, దే ఆర్ ఆల్సో ఫేసింగ్ ఎ సార్ట్ ఆఫ్ సపరేషన్ ఫ్రమ్ ది స్టేట్. ఇది చాలా బాధపడాల్సిన విషయం. కాబట్టి సివిల్ సొసైటీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ ఎంత చివరగా ఒక మాట చెప్పాలి. ఈ ఇద్దరు పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ టీచర్స్, ముఖ్యంగా రవి తన పదవీ విరమణ అనంతరం తన జీవితంలో సామాజిక విలువల పట్ల చాలా కమిట్మెంట్, నిబద్ధత ఉన్న వ్యక్తి కాబట్టి తదనంతర కాలంలో అటు ఆదివాసీ జీవితాలు బాగుపడడం కోసం కృషి చేస్తారని కూడా నేను ఆశిస్తూ ఉన్నా. తప్పకుండా ఈ కృషిలో భాగం కావాలని కూడా నేను భావిస్తూ ఉన్నా. ఆయన పనిచేసినంత కాలం నేను ఎక్కడున్నా కానీ ఆయనతోటి కలిసి పనిచేయడానికి కూడా నేను సిద్ధంగా ఉన్న కూడా మీ అందరికీ కూడా మనం చేస్తాం. చివరగా చెప్పేది ఏమిటంటే, వీళ్ళిద్దరి పోస్ట్ రిటైర్మెంట్ లైఫ్ చాలా ఆయురారోగ్యాలతోటి సామాజికంగా అర్థవంతంగా సుఖశాంతులతో కలిగి ఉండాలని కోరుకుంటూ ముగిస్తా ఉన్నా. థ్యాంక్ యూ వన్ అండ్ ఆల్. థ్యాంక్స్.
I request Professor Gunti Ravi sir, Conference Director, and Professor Lakshmi Madam, Conference Co-Director, to kindly conduct the felicitation program. As part of our love and affection, sir, and as a token of gratitude, we would like to felicitate the panelists here. I request our Dean, Professor Srinivas Vadanam sir, to kindly join the organizers to felicitate. And Director Madam, Pushpa Chakrapani Madam, we request you to kindly join the felicitation. Now I request Professor Gunti Ravi sir to kindly felicitate our chair, Shastri sir, who has kindly accepted our invitation to chair this session and also has given the valuable inputs for the session. Sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. This is a small token of our affection, sir, and respect. And thank you for sharing your experiences and your association with the tribal issues, sir. It has really enriched our participants and has made us think about the issues. Yeah, ma'am, you can also join. Thank you, sir, for accepting our felicitation. Now I request the organizers to kindly felicitate Venugopal, sir. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation and sharing your experiences and about the different issues pertaining to the tribal areas, about the MNCs, how they are encroaching the tribal areas and how the lands have been encroached for the minerals and other aspects. Thank you so much for enlightening us and sparing your valuable time, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request the organizers to kindly felicitate Bela Bhatia Madam. Ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your experiences of the lives of Bastar region, where the people have been suffering a lot and which have really made us think about the issues over there. Thank you for sparing your valuable time. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure your thoughts have really embarked the thoughts of our participants. I request the organizers to kindly felicitate Trinad Rao sir, who has very extensively explained the experiences of the government initiatives against the issues of tribals of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh regions, who has focused on the different laws, their policies, and how they have failed in meeting the needs of the tribals. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. So I thank once again the chair and the panelists for their valuable time. And I also thank Professor Pushpa Ganta Chakrapani Madam, who has who is here in the session right from the beginning, and our Dean, Professor Srinivas Badanam sir, and all the directors, heads, and all the participants and invitees who are here for this session, which is really enriching, and I'm sure all of us will think in these lines and move forward. Now I request all to kindly break for 5 minutes because actually we are little late, and we'll be back again for the another session. Thank you one and all.